Hey guys, welcome to today's webinar, Productivity for Procrastinators. And I'm sure everybody who's on today is going to be having a little giggle that it's now like a few minutes past the time because I had been putting off setting up my new microphone and video. And so I'm doing it in the break between meetings, like, yes, I can do this today. So I have the new Smart Lav lapel mic that I'm testing out, get my audio quality up a bit. So that's from Rode. It's a great Australian brand if you're looking for stuff. And I have a Logitech camera, which is it's next to my ring light, but it's not on yet. So this is just the computer camera today. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good resolution. So yes, anybody who's watching this, I am a self-confessed procrastinator. I mean, I don't tell bosses that, but I'm absolutely a procrastinator. And I'm a procrastinator in many ways. So I'm a procrastinator in the sense that I think I've got way too much time to get things done. When I say I'm going to get stuff done, I'm like, oh, that'll take like an hour. It'll be fine. 3 hours later, I'm like, all right, we can find the right button. It'll be fine. And and other amusing anecdotes like that. So and it's just I'm a classic procrastinator. In the sense that I'm a time squeezer. So a time squeezer, just like we witness now, is like, okay, I can just 5 more minutes, I can get this done. Just another minute, and then I'll leave for that meeting. Just 2 more minutes, and I'll be on for that. So and it's really, it comes from being a time squeezer is really about sort of saying from the subconscious in my brain, oh, I can get everything done. It'll be fine. I'll just a little bit more time. And the reality is, my logical brain knows that every minute that I spend on that task means that it's just taking away from the next task, and it doesn't really balance out in the end. Not really. Just like speeding down the highway, you're going, I don't do this, but it's a 100-kilometer zone, and you're going like, you see someone going like 110. And then you pull up at the first set of lights at the end of the freeway, and they're right in front of you when you were doing the right speed. You know what I mean? So being productive and managing your time and that, there's different types of procrastination. We're going to go through that a little bit today. But if those kinds of things, resonate with you, chances are maybe you're not managing your time. And more than that, you're not psychologically thinking about your time with the right frame of mind quite often going into things. Yeah, so it's a work in progress for me. It's lovingly a work in progress for me, and I hope I can share a few different methods today. Show you we're going to go through a few different types of procrastination, and also some different methods to go through it. So this is a surface level webinar. We're not doing any psychological testing and assessment and putting you onto some cognitive plan today. But we're certainly delving into some different ideas to get you on board to this idea of being a little bit smarter with your productivity. So getting into it, I just remind you that this fabulous webinar, is part of the Digital Solutions program, which is funded by the Australian government. So if you're not in Australia, I don't know what you're doing here, but welcome. But if you're especially if you're in Queensland, Northern Territory, or Western Australia, just to let you know, you can actually fully participate in the Digital Solutions program, where for us at Business Station, so Business Station is the not-for-profit who runs it in Queensland, Northern Territory, and Western Australia, bit of a mouthful. And for $44, I do not joke, for $44, you can get 3 one-to-one sessions with a professional advisor. I would be one of them. So, but I talk about a lot of things. So productivity is one. My specialization is how to start a business and things like that. So I'll get into that. But there's a whole range of advisors, focusing on websites and social media and social media, ding, ding, ding. I know everybody's sort of trying to figure out the social media enigma, and websites and SEO, and how does that all work, and how can I beat the system every day? And I promise you there's no trick. You just got to do the work a little bit. but there are certain strategies you can use. So I'll talk about digital solutions a little bit in a bit. But I'll let you know a little bit about me as well. So my name is Rhonwyn Learner. I have been working with startups for about 15 years. I had better hair then. And I'm a digital solutions advisor, digital advisor for the Digital Solutions program. I also run my own businesses. So I have my own training business, a cybersecurity firm, a bunch of stuff. You know, I like doing eco projects and that. And most of them are startups. So most of them, you know, are less than 5 years old, and I'm, you know, venturing out and trying different things and that sort of thing. And, you know, and like any startup, you know, what am I going to do with this business at the end? Am I going to sell it? Am I going to grow it? Am I going to expand? Am I going to pass the torch to a manager? What am I doing here? And that setup, that process of getting set up, you know, it can be a little bit behind the curtain sometimes. So my job has always been to kind of take people through that process and figure it out, so you don't spend $200 or $500 getting a free ABN or rubbish like that. So, and I also, I'm really, you know, I have a behavioral science background as well. So I'm really super passionate about talent development and leadership and good management skills and that. So it all ties in. If you want to register for Digital Solutions and have me as your first advisor, and I do joke a lot, but I am quite serious most of the time. You know, certainly when it's about your business. So you can find me at businessstation.link/Rhonwyn, and we can get started whenever you like. And this is the program. I'll go through it at the end though. Let's just move on. What is procrastination? Now, like I said before, and I've said before many times, you know, in my 20s, you kind of hide the idea that you're a procrastinator. It's a sneaking suspicion that you're like, I don't know, I feel like this last minute, you know, adrenaline rush is my thing. And I'm not sure why. You know, so you're doing a uni assignment, or some boss is giving you a job to do, or your parent or someone, you know, can you do me a favor? And it's like, can you do it by this day? And what you find is you go, oh yeah, that's plenty of time, no problem. And then this day, say today is Monday and it's due by Friday. So on Monday, you're feeling super confident about the amount of time you have to get this task done. Come Friday, you are, you know, you've been up all night the night before and you're struggling to get it done. And it's maybe not your best effort, although you try to convince yourself it is. It's really not. So procrastination is best described as this sneaky little monster that lives in the back of your brain that says, no, I don't want to do that now. We could do that later. We could totally just relax. You can do that later. It'll be totally fine. Yeah. And it's like almost like a happy monster. You're saying you're totally cool, baby. You can you can chill out and it'll be fine. And we've got plenty of time to do that. And then 24 hours out, the panic monster comes out and, totally sends all the adrenaline and endorphins into your body to like, whoa, now we're doing it. And you speed along. And what that, I think what that shows you as a procrastinator, it just kind of reinforces that you can get stuff done in super, super time efficient, pockets of time. And it doesn't actually help you in future to realize that you kind of need to space it out. So what is procrastination? Well, it's the act of delaying or postponing something. That's as simple as it gets. Yeah. It's the famous saying for procrastination is, why put off tomorrow what I can do today? That's how you counter procrastination. Why do it tomorrow if I can do it today? A procrastinator goes, I can totally do that tomorrow. That's the deal. So I want you to be really clear that there's two real types of procrastination. There's involuntary procrastination, which is the one that we're talking about today, where you sort of you need that rush to get stuff done and you kind of put it off until you absolutely have to. And there's different reasons for that. We'll go through that in a minute. But then there's purposeful procrastination. So purposeful procrastination is the type where you go, no, I got this. I actually do have to leave this till, next week or in the future, because there's other things that need my attention right now. And if I don't do those now, the consequences are going to be considerable. So for example, a lot of the things that we do actually procrastinate on as a normal person, even if you're not a natural procrastinator, some things that you don't deem as urgent, but they're really, really important, like they're going to help you build your business or grow your business or, create that new product or service line or, call those clients that are on your list. I've got all those on the checklist sometimes. if you don't do those soon, the time will go on. Your wonderful, exhaustible, capped kind of limit of time that you have. It's not forever, it's not infinite. That time will run out. But if you bring it to the forefront and go, you know what, this other stuff that really is urgent, but at the same time, I can procrastinate on that for a little bit and use this time to get super, super important stuff done that I have, probably require my attention. So the point is that involuntary versus purposeful, one will help you, the other will absolutely sink you if you don't get on top of it and don't get control of it. Okay, so we are going to talk about productivity in general here. So if you don't feel like you're a procrastinator, you're not going to probably relate to a lot of the kind of emotional, psychological stuff here, but you will relate to it in a practical sense that there probably is, something that you feel could be more productive in your time, in your week. So we're going to go through that in the next parts. So why do we procrastinate? Here's the aha moments. Not everyone's the same. Depends on your experience, depends on what's affected you. Some people have triggers. So you might have certain tasks that are actually quite anxiety producing, and you think, well, I can't bear to even look at that, let alone do it. So I'm just going to leave that for a while. So we have 3 different ones that I bring in. There is a 4th one, which is a little bit of a weird one. It's more of a girly one. I'll maybe throw that at the end, but we've got, first of all, emotional. So emotional is where it's like the soft monster going, you can totally just play on Canva today, or plan out that something or other that you want to, have your dream moments where you're planning out the future, or go have those client meetings with those amazing people that you just love hanging out with, even though you saw them last week. Right? This is called submitting to pleasure. It's where you say, there's things that I would find much more enjoyable to do over the things that I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, this is submitting to pleasure, and this is an emotional trigger. On the other side of that, same kind of deal, but it's about avoiding discomfort. So it's that kind of, that you get that angst, like, oh, I don't want to call people because I'm really afraid of what they're going to say. So I have discomfort in that. So I'm going to throw other tasks, at it in front of it so that I don't have to call them, or send that awkward email. Or I know there's one guy I got a call right now, and I've been putting it off. I was supposed to probably call him before Christmas, and it's now 2 or 3 days in, and it's not to do with this program, it's to do with my own business, because I totally forgot to do something, and I'm going to have that awkward, uncomfortable conversation where I'm like, I forgot. Sorry. And that's a partner, and that's an associate. And it's not even that big a deal. But the fact that I know it's going to be possibly, I don't know how the conversation's going to go. I find that idea uncomfortable, so I do put it off, and I have to, use some strategies to just be like, right, Rhonwyn, now's your moment. You're going to do it. Psychological is more about the brain and the subconscious. So it's really about what's happening in the background. This crazy bit back here, like what is happening back here that you can't just pick up the phone, you can't just get things done. What is happening? Why can I not do this? Why am I avoiding it like the plague? Why is it that scene in Jurassic Park where you're throwing boxes and cabinets in front of the dinosaur lunching at you? Like that's, and it's all about avoiding outcomes a lot. I say it's a little bit like the discomfort, like I don't know what's going to happen, and it's more about fear. So discomfort is, I'm not scared of that conversation, but I know it's not my favorite thing to do today, so I just put it off a little bit. Whereas avoiding outcomes psychologically is like, I'm freaking out. Like I don't want to do that, I'm freaking out. And also psychological triggers for procrastination can be this kind of switching your brain from reactive to proactive. So if you can imagine, say there's we had heavy rain today out of nowhere, sunshine. I was going to wash a mattress and throw it out, not throw it out, but get the sun rays on it to clean it up. And I'm so glad I didn't, because literally from sunshine went to storm and thunderous rain within like the space of 20 minutes. And so proactively, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. Reactively, then I was like, well, I'm a little bit lost now because I was going to do this thing in my break and then I didn't. And now I'm just walking around in my break going, what am I doing? So, but in a work day, there's definite things that will put you into a reactive mode. And we want to try and put the kibosh on that and cull those and cut them and cap them and do whatever you can to put a stamp over them and say, not today. Because if you're in a reactive mode, you are waiting for things to happen. You understand? So when you're reactive, you're just like waiting for the next message, waiting for the next email, waiting for the next social bing, or, waiting for a reply on something without actually looking at the time, how you're spending it, and proactively going, "Oop, this is what I want to do this minute." Yeah. So that's psychological. And then practical is the one that we learn in all that time management type of workshops, which would be a typical productivity kind of webinar. Maybe I'll do that in the future, just focusing on the practical stuff of, priorities and urgent versus important and all that kind of stuff. And really the practical procrastination, as in you don't have any problems with doing this stuff. You're just really feeling like your head's in a cloud and you can't quite set it straight on what you're going to do and when you're going to do it and how, why is things taking so long? And, you tend, it comes from the way you prioritize stuff and not really knowing how to prioritize stuff properly, like what is actually the most important, as well as sometimes maybe just having a bit of an unclear direction. So even this morning we were talking about business planning in another video, and and having those plans in place, so you're really super clear on what are my goals and where am I going and why am I doing this, can help with a lot of that practical procrastination as well. So we're going to explain them in a little more detail now, so bear with me, and then for each one I'm going to tell you a few little tips and strategies you can try and probably learn a bit more. We're only going to kind of touch on each one. Emotional procrastination. So I'm going to start with the kind of the bare bottom line of emotional procrastination, which is your kind of level of emotional intelligence. And the reason I bring this in is because when you are procrastinating emotionally, pleasure, discomfort, all that kind of stuff, what's happening is that you're probably not in a self-awareness state of knowing what's happening at the time. So you're kind of letting yourself avoid things that are uncomfortable, or allowing yourself to get drawn into more pleasurable pursuits because you're not realizing that you're doing it. And I'm guilty of this. I'm a self-professed procrastinator. Got all these P's. and I will have days where I get up, I plan my day, I'm like, these are the things I'm going to get done. And first task is this. And then as soon as I open my computer, instead of getting into that task, I start checking my emails, and then I'm like in Canva. If you don't know what Canva is, there's other videos on Canva. It's like a DIY graphic design program. It's amazing. It's Australian business. And I, one task, or you end up in this kind of rabbit hole where you end up going, I was planning to do this and now I'm over here doing this. And if you're not aware of that, if you're not aware of the emotions you're feeling at the time you do that, it totally passes you by. So it can be sometimes you just like, I've done this task before and it was really tedious, so I'm kind of avoiding it. I do that a bit with admin. Like sometimes I'm like super power charged to do administration and put file notes in and put this over here and move that there and have a lovely, beautiful, clean list of clients and what am I doing with them, and it's amazing. And I feel great after it. That's the thing. When you get stuff done, you feel great. Like there is pleasure in completing stuff. And this is in procrastination, this is what we forget. We sort of value the emotional connection of the moment over the emotional connection of the future moment and the gratification that comes from getting stuff done. So we can control our emotional reactivity, but the first step is being aware of it. So if you can be aware of what emotion you're feeling, you can figure out what's triggering that emotion, and then you can look at the triggers and that sort of thing. So I'll tell you about that in a sec. But Goleman was a genius, like coming out with this whole thing of, academic intelligence, cognitive problem solving, whatever, whatever. How about how we treat each other? How about how we treat ourselves? How about that inner voice that tells us you can get this done? You can do this. Give yourself confidence. Recognize that you have this amazing mind and amazing, breadth of emotion inside you and what you're feeling and when you're feeling it. You know what I mean? Um, and uh, and then from that, you can, building on your emotional intelligence, you can branch out into, how you relate to others, how your actions affect others. So me putting off calling someone, that's not just me. I'm affecting someone else. They could be waiting for that call. It could be an opportunity. I know one time there was this client, and that, this a few years ago, there was this client who I had like a moment with them where I thought, "Oh, I think they're a little bit, what's the word? Like they weren't really happy with what I did." So what happened was it was like a coaching session. I explained coaching before. They'd never done coaching before. It's happened a lot in coaching. I explained what coaching was. I turned up at the coaching session. I spent so much time with this person. I spent like an hour talking to them before the session, and then I spent like 2 hours doing the 1 hour session. Right, this is early days where you don't, you can't just like run with it. And because I thought this lady really needs my help. And then I sent the bill and she'd pay it, and I was like, okay. It'd be nice if she paid it. I spent like 3 times as much time with this person. And my avoidance of that, I sent emails and that, and it kind of came back was I couldn't see the value I got. And I was like, oh my goodness. And that almost never happens now. Like, because every step you take in your business, you learn from it. You go, okay, I need to frame this differently. I need to describe this differently. I need to set some boundaries here. But I wasn't really confident to have that conversation with them, and so I put it off. And really, what happened was she was just in such a state of anxiety over her business that when I finally contacted her, we ended up having more sessions, and she was really happy. But that initial call to kind of clarify and explain again, like I was a bit like, oh, it's really uncomfortable. But because I had been putting it off, I was also putting off her progress. You get what I'm saying? So your emotional, stagnation and lack of self-awareness and just thinking about how you're reacting can actually affect other people. So I want to just say out very clearly, some of these things might be sensitive to some of you watching this, and I apologize. But it is important to kind of take some reflection time and think about what sort of things might be holding you back if you are avoiding uncomfortable things. Quite often I get this one, which is over here. I can't click on it. When I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. So especially early days in the business, like I've been doing my business for several years now. And before that I was doing it professionally. I still do it in digital solutions. I still do it professionally. But when you're feeling overwhelmed, you do feel a lack of control. And so you do get into this reactive state and you're feeling emotional over everything you're doing. And, oh, why can't I get this done? Was it, and we sometimes make it about us. It's not about that you perhaps have too much work on and you haven't mapped it out. You suddenly feel like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. I must be the problem. I must be the problem, which is not true. I'll be very honest with you, it's not true. Like, you're all capable of doing this stuff, and if you choose to do a business in something, you made that choice when you were solid. You know what I mean? You were standing on solid ground with a clear mindset and and a positive mental frame, and you went, I can do this business. And then suddenly we're in the business and things are happening and it's, oh, I don't know what's, and then we start to doubt ourselves. But you can absolutely do this. If you made the choice to make your business when your brain was screwed on right and you were having a clear point of view, you just got to trust your judgment. You just got to go with it and you can do it. But yeah, when I lose control of my timetable and where my clients are at and things like this, if I don't have the right programs in place to start automating a lot of that stuff, like I will absolutely feel overwhelmed. Also, information overload can feel overwhelmed. And that's part of the reason I started my business, because I was seeing all these startups that were just like, they'd hit the internet and they'd go searching for things, but they would search for hours. And instead of finding one solution to their problem, they would find like 26. And then they'd be like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, I don't doubt it. You know, you've looked at 26 different, content marketing videos out there that tell you you should do this or else. And now, of course, you're feeling completely confused and, wasted your time and probably wasted some money doing it. So, that whole information overload was the whole reason I started my startup training business, because I was like, right, just do this. Just do this. You'll be fine. Status anxiety is a bit of a weird one. So status anxiety is where you kind of attach your success and progress and professional standing and how much money you're making and all that stuff to your self-worth. It's a very uncomfortable space to be in if you feel like, I should be doing better than this. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you go through life and think, I'm going to make $1 million by the time I'm 30. I said that. I'm going to make $1 million by the time I'm 30. And I got to 30 and I started having kids and I was like, yeah, this is not happening. It's not happening this year. So, and it, you get there, you get there, but that moment where you kind of go, I'm not going to meet my life goals that I made at 25. Like, you learn not to care. That's a process in itself, knowing that you might have a trigger there where perhaps you had parents have parents with really high expectations, or you have a partner that earns a lot of money, or friends that all earn lots of money, and suddenly you're kind of feeling anxious about how your business is going, and it triggers you to have procrastination over some tasks because you're like, oh, I can't do it. You kind of put yourself in front of yourself, if that makes sense. Like, you get in your own way. Social and moral triggers. So if you feel like you haven't had a fair go, something didn't go your way, you didn't feel right, you just want to fit in, you really want to be heard. Also not heard. So there's another business consultant, Francesca Moy. I want to say Moy. Friend Moy. She runs her own programs. It's called Invisible to Invincible. So there's a little plug for you, friend. But and she's a quite an aggressive business builder for herself. But she works on this premise of a lot of people out there. You've got your business open, you've got your social media open, you've got everything on out in the public sphere, but you're kind of holding yourself back from just getting out there and getting stuff done and pushing yourself, right? And it's the same stuff like I teach in my business, which is like, you got to take action to get action. That didn't come out at all. It's what I meant, but you know what I mean? Like, you got to take steps and make some action. So as a trainer, I have to schedule workshops. I have to put on webinars. I have to talk to people about their stuff, right? If I don't actually do stuff, people can't see me doing stuff, and I am invisible and I don't get momentum. And then I can feel, and I might be getting this kind of social discomfort that I'm like, nobody's really paying attention to me. It's like, well, yeah, because you're not doing much. But once you start doing stuff, you get momentum. And relationships, of course. So, and this is a big one, and I don't want to harp on this, but you can be surrounded by people that maybe don't support you as much as they should or could, and that's a very intimate thing to deal with. There's a lot of gurus out there that say, oh, if your partner doesn't support your business or your real estate career or whatever you're doing, then you should leave them. I'm like, I don't think these people live in the real world, actually. When you have a partner, get married, whatever, lifelong partner, if they support you or not, that's up to them to meet the party. That's just, some people are very analytical. Some people, need that concrete evidence to believe. So, what you got to do is you kind of got to believe in yourself first, get some action happening, get some momentum going, get some results, and then people follow suit and will start believing in you too, right? So it's kind of in some ways it's got to start with you, but it will trigger you to be hesitant and avoid things. You know what I mean? All right, so let's move on. So if you want to test your emotional intelligence, you absolutely can go online, search for free EQ test or free emotional intelligence test. You'll have a few. This is one I put here. take a screenshot and type it in, or just go globalleadershipfoundation.com and you'll find it there. Or I said, you know, you can go into a search engine and Google free emotional intelligence test. If nothing else, anything to do with self-discovery is good fun, right? So don't use it as a distraction from getting other stuff done, but absolutely check it out. See, you know, where are you at? Are you self-aware? Do you learn what triggers you and learn how to control them in that? So how do you overcome? That's the main part. How do you overcome like emotional procrastination? So if you're avoiding discomfort, it's a little bit like a phobia or an allergy. No, I'm not gonna say allergy. I don't want to kill anybody, but you know, you kind of just got to push through the discomfort, right? So if for example phone calls was your thing, you don't want to call people. Oh, what are they going to say? Do it first thing in the morning, right? So you kind of force yourself into the fear first. You do it first thing up in the day, because what happens is, and this is the same principle for Eat That Frog. So Eat That Frog is a Brian Tracy principle, and there's a whole book you can read on it. It's not very big, like 70 pages or something, Eat That Frog. This principle of, you know, whatever's the most disgusting thing that you have to do that day, you don't want to do it first thing. I know it's horrible. I know procrastination is like, Rhonwyn, I don't think you understand this whole procrastination thing. No, I totally get it. But at some point, you kind of got to put on your big girl or your big boy pants and go, right, I'm doing it first thing this morning. That's it. We're doing it. And you'll find that what happens is the rest of your day goes better. So, because if you're procrastinating at discomfort all day, that means you are literally uncomfortable the whole day. And then you may not even do it, which means it carries on into the next day and the next day. So avoiding discomfort is definitely one you want to snap out of that right first. I quite like affirmations. Affirmations is obviously where you have some great statements that say, hey, you totally got this, or but more importantly, more specifically, so if it was to do with phone calls, for example, the kind of affirmation you want is, I love making phone calls. Yeah. I love making phone calls. It's amazing. It's the favorite part of my day, right? And what it does, affirmations kind of work, because what it does is it's overpowering your inner voice. So your inner voice, which is giving into the discomfort and the avoidance, is saying, no, you don't want to do that. You're like, oh, I don't want to, I'm freaking out, whatever. I want to do that later, right? An affirmation goes, no, I actually really love making phone calls. Oh, do I? Okay, yeah, let's give it a try. You know, and you got to build on it, but it's not going to happen in the first 5 minutes. But, you know, you say to yourself every day, I actually really like doing this. Then eventually when you start doing it, you'll realize it's not actually as uncomfortable as you think it is. And I do that with admin. I do that with admin. I'm like, I love admin. And then I open up my admin programs and I go, oh, I love admin. And I start with the first task until, you know, and then eventually it's over and the pain stops and you can move on with the rest of your day. The 100 rule is probably one of my favorites. And you can use this probably with the most types of procrastination. But when you're avoiding stuff, this is a big one. The 100 rule basically says, whatever that task is you don't want to do, and it could be making videos, like it could be literally setting up, like I'm setting up stuff to make YouTube or whatever, like it could be setting up videos because you're like, oh, I'm really afraid of what I'm going to look like on video. Am I going to make an idiot of myself? What am I, you know, I just don't really like myself on camera, you know, I've got more shiny and my hair is like a frizzy mess and whatever. So do it 100 times. Make a video 100 days in a row. Make phone calls 100 times in a row. Maybe not in a row, but you know what I mean? Like set yourself a goal to make 100 phone calls. Set yourself a goal to write 100 articles. Give yourself a go to write 100 posts or do 100 Instagram posts or something. And if you're thinking, oh, but I can only post once a day, get yourself a social media scheduler like Publer or Planoly or any of these ones. Publer is how you spell it. Publer is the one I like. And what it allows you to do is you can save your images and you can set them up, or you can get your quotes and you can pre-schedule for in advance. If you pay like $10 a month, it's like you can do 100 in advance if you like. Otherwise, I guess you would just make them, put them in a file, they're ready to go, right? But you see where I'm going with this. If you do something 100 times, it stops being uncomfortable. I know that like I used to really hate injections, and guess what we're all supposed to do now. And I realized through having kids and things like that, you get a lot of injections, and people take a lot of blood and they do a lot of things that you're just like, oh my goodness, do you have to? Yes, okay, here we go. I'm just gonna pretend not to faint right now. But you do it a few times and you just you realize it's not as bad as you think. All right, so submitting to pleasure. All right, so if you are really just end up on YouTube or watching cat videos, which my kids want to do right now. Like even I'm sure after I finish this, my kid will be like, can we watch the videos where the cats are wearing costumes and falling over? Which I do not condone. My cats, I've tried it, they do fall over. But that could be a pleasurable thing. So if you do 50 minutes of hardcore work, 10 minutes to go watch your YouTube, and then cut it off at 10 minutes. Don't end up watching an hour of YouTube. Other things is I'm a bit addicted to coffee, and it's not why I talk so fast. That's just natural. But I do drink I can get to points where I drink a lot of coffee, and so I have to switch to decaf and things like that. But what happens is it becomes a source of procrastination, because I've had days where I'm avoiding something, or I'm like, and I submit to pleasure, where I go, okay, I'm just going to treat myself to a little coffee, put myself in the zone, feel a little better. And then I have the coffee, and then I'm sitting down, and what I'm doing is I'm mostly just drinking my coffee and chilling out. And then by the time that's done, it's like, I can get another coffee. So I end up like with 2 hours of coffee drinking and not a lot of work done. So, to stop yourself getting up and being distracted, you go, right, that's fine. If you want that lovely spicy chai latte, then you're gonna have to do like a solid hour of work or something, and then you can do it. You can time track non-essentials. So if you are finding your time is getting sucked and you don't know where, you can get like a spreadsheet or whatever, and you can get apps on your phone. So if you just search time tracker on your Play Store or your iPhone store, then for a second I've forgotten the name. But if you go on there, you can find apps that track your time. So it'll track how much time you're spending on socials, how much time you're spending on calls, how much time you're spending just Googling stuff, or on Facebook Marketplace, whatever. So you can also get apps that trigger, if you've been on social media for like 45 minutes and that's your cap, it'll come up with an alert and go, you've been on Facebook for 45 minutes. Is this what you want to be doing right now? All right. And a big one, which I'm actually a big supporter of, is have some bloody creative outlets. Quite often we submit to pleasure because we aren't actually getting pleasure in our normal day-to-day life. I've seen this massive growth and movement towards people working so much that they're never doing anything fun. You know what I mean? And I'm guilty of this too. I observed myself doing this, where I'm working, I'm running businesses, I'm doing family time and all this. And I got to a point about even the middle of last year, before I came into digital solutions, and I was in a different contract role, and and I wanted to learn tax. As you do, I wanted to refresh my tax skills. And I turned up to this tax course on a Saturday morning when it was family time. So I cut into family time to do this. Turn up week one, they're like, oh, no. This is just where we revise stuff. You have to go online and do the modules during the week to get it done. And I was like, it's just not going to happen. Like I worked out, I literally woke up at like 5:30 in the morning, went to bed 11 o'clock at night, and every minute of the day was assigned to something. Like there was no rest or creative time. And so what was happening is I was procrastinating a lot on getting stuff done because I just wasn't having any rest and creative time. So it's really, really important. If you feel you're submitting to pleasure a lot, you need to just carve out time to dedicate to pleasurable activities like hobbies or whatever. Psychological. Probably one of my favorite topics in the great expanse that happens. Psychological procrastination. So this is where you don't even realize you're doing it. And most of the ways, it's like fear of failure, fear of success, which kind of have the same result, but they're a little bit different. Fear of public scrutiny, that's a big one. So there's this great article called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. It's written by a lady who was in end of life care, and she would talk to these people over and over again, and they would tell her what they regretted through their life, like what are their last regrets. And one of them was one of the big ones was, I wish I didn't care as much what people thought. I wish I wish I'd just gone for it and not really cared about the result, or what people thought about the result, or what people thought of me doing it. That's like one of the top regrets of people who are at the end of their life. So this fear of public scrutiny and whether you're going to fail or succeed in that, it's very real, and it's actually really common. And it causes a lot of people to quit. So one of my least favorite things in the startup world is failure statistics, I'll be honest. And I get quoted them a lot. Like when I meet people and say I work with startups, and they're like, oh, isn't the failure rate like this and this and this? And I just, God help me. like I don't know where to start. And and the reality is the reason I don't like failure statistics is that they're very inaccurate. They are kind of raw data with summations and assumptions drawn from the data, which is what you do with data, but it doesn't really reflect what happens. So in my experience, most people quit their business because they get a better opportunity. Most people quit their business because they weren't really committed to it enough. And when it got hard, they just went, it's not working out, so I'm just going to get rid of it. There's some emotion on some theories on the financial management side of business, fair call, but at the same time, that's usually a symptom of what's happening behind the scenes. It's not usually like people can learn to do their finances. They can learn all that stuff. So you got to ask yourself, well, why didn't they manage their money? And usually it's because they're not fully committed to the business. They don't take it seriously enough, and they don't do planning, and they make bad choices in that, right? But it's a very complex issue. It's not as simple as tick tick tick, this is what happened. Unsupportive relationships. So psychologically, what we were saying before is, if you're surrounded by people who doubt what you do or doubt what you're trying to do, it can seep in a little bit, can get into the back there and start to get into the back of your brain and your subconscious. And I will say this, the psychological part of procrastination is very subconscious. Like you have to be really aware and observant of yourself to really go, right, I think I have a problem here. So fear of failure, you're going to know you have maybe a fear of failure, because when you worry about activities you're about to do in your business, you literally are thinking, I'm just not sure it's going to work out. Yeah, you kind of say those kind of statements. I'm just not sure it's going to work. I'm just not sure people are going to show up. I'm not sure people are going to buy it. Yeah, and what you're really not sure of is yourself. You're really not. What you're really saying is you're worried it's going to flop. Yeah, which is common. It's more common than you think. The question is, what are you going to do about it? That's the question. The question is, if you want it to succeed, what are the logical steps you have to do to give it every chance of success? So if, for example, and I used to have this with workshops, getting back into it, your first workshops, if you're thinking success looks like 50 people in a workshop and 4 people register and turn up, well, then in your mind, you've already set it up as a failure. Whereas getting 50 people in a workshop, if you're generally unknown and new and getting started and whatever, like getting 50 people, within 4 or 6 weeks is like a miracle. Do you know what I mean? You'd have to have some massive marketing campaign, a few dollars behind you. So, you sort of go, oh, and then it puts you off for the next time, right? But if you say to yourself, look, if even one person shows up, we're doing this workshop and it's going to be just fine. And at least it's practice and it's this, and I've got some social media posts and some images and, whatever you draw on it. What can you use it for? Use it as a tool. So you've got to really think about your pursuits as nothing's really a failure. Everything's just an opportunity to learn something. And if you approach your activities in your business like that, you kind of can shed off a little bit of that fear. Being unsure of the unknown. So I don't know what's going to happen, therefore I'm not sure I'm going to take this step. So the other type of psychological barriers is like, controlling your time. So what we were saying about the reactive versus proactive, right? So if you are quite proactive with your time, you control your time. You decide what happens. You decide when it happens, And it's a little bit like the pretty woman statement, isn't it? But when I'm serious, like, you decide, who, when, where, why, what are you doing? And it's not about pleasing other people. It's not about saying yes to everything. So, so I'm guilty of that. Sometimes when you're a very capable person, people say, can you help me with this? I'm like, yes, I can help you with this, which generally equates to, yes, I will help you with this, but that's not the same question. Can I help with something is not the same question as will I or should I help with something? So essentially you have to kind of learn to push back and delegate out and say no to things, because essentially that's what they're doing. When they come and ask you, can you do this for me? They have already said no to that task, and they're seeing if you're up for it, right? So they're taking something off their activity and to-do list and putting it onto yours. And if you are not getting a direct benefit from that, and it sounds selfish, but I'm being honest, like if you're running a business, you do not have the time to be doing heaps of free favors for people without any progress or payback. So if someone said to you, if a business associate said to you, hey, can you help me with this? Be like, no problem. I certainly can help you with that. But you're going to help me with something in return. Yeah. You got to avoid just saying yes because you can do something, or saying yes because you want to make people happy. Yeah. You got to really get over that psychological hurdle of feeling, in some ways you can, myself, and you might relate to this, I have a bit of a rescuer personality. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, victim versus rescuer, and there's another one. So I tend to want to save people a little bit. So I say yes to a lot of things like free mentoring and things like that. And the reality is those are all great opportunities anyway. Like I always get amazing value contributing to those sorts of situations, and I love it. But at the end of the day, it does cause some issues for me growing my business in one respect, because it's a huge time suck. It's not, I'm controlling my time, but I'm also sacrificing my time as well. So you've got to think about psychologically what controls your choices, right? So how do you overcome this section? Well, if you are avoiding outcomes like fear of failure and things, you got to remember that confidence comes with action. Yeah. You sitting there thinking about it, wondering what's going to happen, is not actually going to resolve anything. You can think about it till the cows come home. You can think about it for the whole 12 months of this year of what will happen. You can think about that as long as you like. And that's interesting, having a pensive mode in every post on your Instagram. But the reality is it doesn't actually give you more confidence. So confidence comes with you proving to yourself you can do this. And that comes from finishing stuff, getting some outcomes, addressing those outcomes of what are the outcomes about? Have I got learning lesson outcomes? Have I got financial outcomes? Have I got partnership and business building outcomes? Have I got branding outcomes? What are the outcomes I have? So I'll give you an example. I did a freebie a freebie session for businesses during COVID, and I partnered with another amazing business coach, and I got an MP to open it for me that I knew, who was very supportive and great. And it was a good session. I won't lie, it was a good session. But at the same time, it was a free session. And I almost canceled it because I was like, man, this is so much effort. I'm paying for marketing and I'm trying to get people, it's like when you're standing there going, I'm trying to help you. Like, please, I'm trying to help you. And, but we had a good turnout. But at the end of the day, I've leveraged on that a couple of times because it had some, one of the outcomes was it was a virtual event. I got a recording. So I've been able to share that recording sometimes, and it's won me contracts and things like that based on, stuff that I have done. Was it a perfect session? No, it wasn't a perfect session. The first 5 minutes, it was me and the other guy working out that we couldn't have both laptops going at the same time. So, things like that, and I've got an MP sitting there watching me do this. So, it's kind of, you just go with it. You just got to get over it. And you just got, and I know that sounds easy, but, build more knowledge, take baby steps if you need, understand that failure, absolutely expected. You are going to fail at some things sometimes. And the quicker you just take that into your brain and work with it, rather than this constant, upbringing that we have that's like, you must get perfect grades. You must do well in school. If you fail a subject, your whole life is ruined. Like, what a ridiculous notion. Some of the best entrepreneurs of our times are people who completely failed at school because they just didn't care. It's like failure, whatever. I'm not going to die, depending on the task, right? So you just got to take it to your mind. It's expected. It's fine. Go with it. All right, we're nearing the end of our time. We're going to have to move this going. Reactive versus proactive. Okay, this is a really simple one, but it's actually really has a huge impact. Turn off your notifications on everything. Okay, if you're in the zone and you're working on stuff, put your phone on silent, not even on vibrate, put it on silent, throw it in another room, because it's, just like if you're in a meeting, if you're in a work meeting, or if you're doing stuff, or if you're in the bathroom or driving somewhere or whatever, like, you can't pick up the phone and you can't answer tweets and whatever. So sometimes you got to treat your time like that. You know what I mean? Like, black spot your alerts and your notifications. Okay. If something is super urgent, they'll get through. Or, you can check it. You can have a look at who's calling, and you can have a little bit of a looky-loo. But just be mindful that every time you look at an alert or a notification, your brain is trying to switch a task. Yeah. So there's a lot of research that, we used to say, oh, you can multitask. I can multitask my hands, right? I can pat my head and rub my tummy. No problem. But I can't multitask my brain. Yeah. Your brain functions to work through, kind of focus on one thing at a time. It can work multiple problems. Like, I can sleep and work through problems. Okay, no worries. Okay, fine. That's two things. But focus one thing at a time. So every time your computer bings or whatever, I've broken my concentration and I'm looking at something else and I'm trying to process another bit of information. Second one is set tasks like a boss. What I mean by this is, quite a few of us, we are transitioning from employment model into self-employment model. And when you do that, you go from this psychological reactive state where you're fed work and you're told what to do and you're given a structure and you're given a work format and given a timeline and people to report to and all the rest. It's all given to you, pretty much, depending on the job, but 95% of the time, it's all given to you. And then you switch over to self-employment, you got none of that. So what you can do to counter that is you can set yourself tasks like a boss would set you tasks, right? So what you do is at 4 o'clock at the end of the day, 4:30, you sit down and go, right, what did I achieve today? I'm gonna note down a few things that I absolutely nailed today. And then I'm gonna work on what are the most critical things I need to do tomorrow, and what time I have to do it and all the rest. And then when I come in the morning, I'm going to look at it as if it was given to me from the boss, right? And don't let the boss go easy on you. Yeah, do it like a boss. Now, if you really need to take the extra mile, what you do is you grab your phone and you do a little video of yourself telling you what the tasks are for the day. So come in the morning, watch your video back and go, Rhonwyn, this is what you need to do today, and this is why you need to do it, and this is what you're doing right now. First up, get it done. I expect it done by 11 o'clock. Strange, but it works. And what am I doing right now? So countering that reactive mode is it's like the self-awareness. You just got to catch yourself and go, right, what am I actually doing this very minute? Am I doing what I'm meant to be doing? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I doing what I want to be doing? Not emotionally want to be doing, but practically, psychologically, am I actually being proactive with my time, or have I been sucked into reactivity again? Okay. So this stuff, none of this is groundbreaking. This is all pretty simple stuff, right? Just working through, this is the problem, figuring out, identifying what kind of procrastination you're doing, and then trying out some methods to counter it. Practical procrastination. Yes. This is possibly the easiest one, because really it's about putting one foot in front of the other, and that's it. So if you're a practical procrastination, it's like, how do you actually manage your time? It doesn't get simpler than that. So I love the Dale Carnegie method, like theory, I guess, where it's they always say, how do you spell time? And it's spelled Life. I love that. I love that. Thanks, Carnegie. Because it reminds us that your life, you have a lifetime, and your life equates to the time that you have here. And whatever theories go behind that, but that's essentially it. Every day you spend should be a day worth living. So if you are spending it being a workaholic, and you're not controlling your time, and you're not pocketing it into a manageable amount of time that's taking over the rest of your life, that's literally your life down the drain. That's it. So really reminding yourself, if I'm wasting time, I'm literally wasting my life away. I know that's a bit heavy. I don't mean it to be so heavy, but it's just a poignant way to remind yourself this is what you need to do. So when we're doing practical tools to overcome practical procrastination, think about, this is where the digital stuff really comes in, and I want you to consider digital solutions and other programs that you can do to really get you on board with figuring out where digital programs and automation is really what I'm getting at. Automation can help you. So if you repeat stuff a lot, if you duplicate stuff a lot, you got to automate that stuff, right? If I'm responding to every email inquiry with like, hey, thanks for contacting me, I'll look into this and get back to you by about this time, and thanks for that. That should be automated, right? So you're looking at customer relationship management programs, you're looking at task management programs, you're looking at email responders, you're looking at email sequences. All these programs will help you automate a lot of that in-between stuff that you can get sucked into, and also can put you into reactive mode, but it sucks your time away, because it's a minute here, it's 5 minutes there, it's 10 minutes there, and suddenly you waste a whole hour of the day with nitty-gritty stuff that you need to look at. And every program you bring on that saves you time is almost like hiring a staff member. Now, I fully back the idea of hiring people. I'm not a big believer in having a solopreneur business for life. You have to have pretty good reasons to do that, and that is a personal choice. And I fully respect that. But at the end of the day, every person we hire, that is a person employed. They're employed for money, they're employed for their time, they're employed for their, this direction and value in their life. Employment brings so many great benefits to a human, in a positive way if you're a good boss, right? So, but at the same time, when you're getting started, first thing you've got to do is automate all the unnecessary stuff. So how do we overcome procrastination? So automation is one. First thing after that is figuring out what exactly are you doing, when are you doing it, and why are you doing it. So we're really coming down to priorities versus values. Now, you notice I didn't say priorities versus time or whatever. I'm literally saying, do you know what you value most in life? Do you know what you value most in your business? Because they usually line up pretty well, actually. Like you wouldn't be a super nice person and then be a scoundrel business owner. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. If you're a scoundrel, you're going to run a dodgy business. I don't think that's any of you. Okay, you wouldn't be here trying to better yourselves if you were terrible people. So, figure out what you value in life. Like I'll be honest with you, I probably value my career over my family, and that's not that they aren't equally important. What I mean is, when it comes to my time management, it's taking progress for me to go, okay, if my time is my most valuable resource, how do I want to spend it? Do I want to spend 10, 12 hours a day working, which is what I naturally value? I will naturally want to come over and, answer an email over one of my kids going, hey, can you come watch this Disney movie with me that you've seen 36 times? Like, yeah, I'll be in there. I'll be there in 5 minutes. You see how I did that? I've literally, by my action, I've screamed loud and clear what my values are. My values is to come over and do a little work over going and spending time with my family. Now that's changing. Yeah, that's a work in progress to me, and that's something that I had to observe in myself and go, oh, actually, I'm not sure I'm really happy with this, because what's happening is I'm working a lot. So, the last year, that's like me making those choices on what do I really value, and, making my actions match up with that, so that, and it's a two-way street, right? Your actions trigger your strength and values, and vice versa. So decide if your values fit. what you're doing. Yeah. And I'll say this very clearly. If you are running a business that doesn't fit with you, you're going to feel this friction and anxiety kind of all the time. So if you feel that you're feeling that all the time with your business, like I'm not feeling like it's gelling with me. It's a bit like a good relationship. A good relationship should feel a little bit natural and a little bit like it's going naturally. So if you're feeling that kind of friction with your business where it feels a bit unnatural, chances are maybe you just need to tweak your business model a bit to make it something that fits your value set and your lifestyle choices and everything else a little bit better, right? So if you, for instance, if you actually genuinely suffer anxiety and depression, things like that, and you're trying to do a business that's like a multi-level marketing business or something where you've got to talk to people all the time, it's probably not a great fit for you, right? You're going to have days where you just you don't want to talk to people, and suddenly you're putting yourself in a position where you're going to feel bad basically not running your business because you are not up to it that day. And you just kind of got to go to yourself, well, that's okay. It just means that maybe this isn't the right business model for me, and whatever that means for you. And that's, if you're feeling that, you can come and talk to me. It's totally fine. You can email me after this and we can have a chat. Doing first things first. So priorities is like, what's the biggest priority today? And doing that first thing, right? So I've made the mistake some days where I'm like, oh, this is so urgent, someone needs it, I'm gonna get it done. And then the thing that I said was most important for me to get done that day, it ends up lagging behind about 12 other things, and then it may or may not get done. And if it does get done, it's not done to the standard that I want it to be. And that's a problem. So doing first things first, and this comes straight out of Stephen Covey's methods as well, like the 7 habits of highly effective people. One of those is do first things first. There's a few other great lessons in there as well, if you're ever interested in reading that Stephen Covey book. Urgent versus important is one of the most classic things. You're going to find that splashed all over the internet for time management. If you just Google urgent versus important, there's going to be lots of lessons on how do you judge what's urgent, what's important, things like that. I will say this, if you look at your list and there's 30 things on there and you've marked them all as urgent and all as important, you're not doing this right. Okay, that's the signal. That's the signal you're not getting that right, that urgent versus important. So what I would do, really, honestly, I know we're probably going to go a little bit over time now, but honestly, I'd grab some Post-it notes or sheets of paper, rip them up, whatever, little squares. Put down your tasks. If you've got a list, just number them and then put the numbers on. And then divide your dining table into 4 squares. Okay, so not urgent, urgent. Important, not important, important, right? So they cross over. So at the top, you've got most important, most urgent, and then on the top and the diagonal, you've got not urgent but very important. You've got not important but very urgent, and then down here in this tiny little square, you've got not really very urgent, not really very important. And what you do is you get your tasks and you literally put them into the squares. Yeah. And by visually doing that, you will see, right, I've put everything in urgent versus important. I've got to now cull. I've got to now take things out of there because I can't possibly do everything in the next hour or today. I can't do 30 things today. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. You got to just cut. You just got to, it's not going to happen. So start grabbing those bits of paper with different tasks and start shifting them around. You can do it digitally as well. Obviously, you can do it in Word or Excel or whatever, and start moving it around. Even Microsoft Outlook actually has like a Post-it note menu next to like email and calendar and tasks, and that there's like a little Post-it note you can shift it in there. Triage system I heard from it comes straight from the hospital system, literally, where it's like if you are having this bottleneck of urgent and important things, you triage them. So you go red light, amber light, green light. Red light is, oh my God, I am going to die. I don't get this task done. Orange is, this is the next batch. Like as soon as red is done, I have to move on to orange, and they can wait just a smidge. And then green light is like, look, it's just not going to happen today. It's just not going to happen today. So these are the, in your green sections, like these just have the least consequences. And that's kind of how you got to triage it. ABCDE method can be also just done into 3 of like automate. What is it? I've forgotten it. Anyway, ABCDE method. I'll come back to that later if I remember or whatever. ABCDE method is like, okay, A is most important. B, B and C, you're kind of getting into the triage. D is delegate. E is like exit. Like it's just not going to happen. It's been on the list for 6 months. You're never going to do it. Out it goes. Don't even care. Don't even worry about it. And overestimate your time. So I will say this: whenever you do something for the first time, if you think it's going to take you an hour, put it as 2, right? Double your time, because every estimate or terrible estimate you put on your time for doing a task, if you go way over that estimate, it's one more thing you're going to feel bad about because you didn't make your deadline. Yeah, so just double your time. All right, if you have an unclear direction, obviously get some planning underway, right? So plan out your business. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? What's your values? What's your vision? What's your mission statement? Okay. If you want to check out we did business planning as a webinar this morning, so it'll hit YouTube probably in about a week or next couple of days. So you can check it out. We talk about that a little bit. Well, there's heaps of videos on it anyway. What are your business strategies, right? So the best thing I can suggest to you, if you don't really have direction, and sometimes I do this, and this is the perfect time. We're in January. This is the perfect time to do some planning, okay? Or even if it's February or March, no worries, okay? There's no better time to plan than right now. This is not something you should procrastinate, because if you're doing tasks without any directional planning, you may as well be just running in a circle. You know that, I don't know if you're a Simpsons fan, if you're any of your old as me, and there's this iconic like gif or image of Homer Simpson just on the floor rotating, going whoop 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 whoop, because yeah. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Who's this? Someone has brought it up. Staff. A is most important items. B is minor consequences. C is no consequences. D is delegate, and E is eliminate. Nice work. Love your research skills. Nice one, Steph. So yeah, there's a million things here. I just can't keep them all in my head. Sometimes it's hard. Okay, so have some direction. So there was a workshop I used to do years ago. I probably should bring it back this time of year, called Dream It, Plan It, Do It. And essentially at the end of it, the do it, what we would do is we would look at like, what is the goal for the year? And you can do this in any kind of strategic planning mode. What's the goal for the year? What are the 4 stages to reach that goal? And so each stage represents a 90-day cycle, a quarter, as it were, 3 months. And then you would work out that, and then you just grab your first quarter, which is right now, say January, February, March, or wherever you're in, and you would look at, what is my goal for the next 90 days, and then just keep breaking it down until you basically have daily to-do lists. And I tell you, that is a sobering activity, because you will realize just how little time you have to get stuff done. Yeah, so if you're launching an online course, or if you've got a project or whatever, because this was kind of a project based, but you can use it for annual planning. Once you break it down into year, quarter, month, week, day, so to speak, you'll absolutely see that there's very little time to get stuff done. And that's when you might go back to, say, ABCDE method and go, right, I've got this massive to-do list now based on what I want to achieve for this year. Where do I delegate? Where's a strategy that actually, if I do that, it's actually just going to be more of a time suck than a help, and you just move it on. Okay, we're coming to kind of the end here. This is the practical procrastination. So what have we done? So we looked at the difference between involuntary and purposeful procrastination. We looked at the 3 main types of procrastination. I'll let you in, I did say there was a 4th type. So girls, lean in. Boys, you can cover your ears. It's to do with the female cycle. So female cycle is very much linked to our hormones and our energy levels. And I know it sounds a bit weird, but have a think about it. If you work on a 4-week cycle, you're going to have a couple of weeks where you're super energized, and you're going to have a couple of weeks where you feel super drained. And if you try to push yourself in the really lethargic weeks, you're just going to break down and cry, because you're just like, I can't do this. It's too much. I'm too tired. I'm exhausted all the time. But that is the 4th one. Yeah, it's true. So how do you overcome emotional, psychological, practical? We looked at a few methods, several methods. So the idea is you can watch this back, pick one or two, you know, try and align yourself with what you think you might try. Whatever you're going to try, it's a bit like marketing. Whatever you're going to try, you got to try it for a length of time. So if you're going to try the triage system, or, you know, the 100 rule or whatever, like, you know, run it for a while and see how it goes. Like, don't quit after the first few days and go, oh, it didn't work. You've got to kind of run it for a while. Okay, join today. This is the bit where I talk about digital solutions a bit. So if you already know about it, or if you're already registered, I super appreciate your coming on today and joining me today. And if you're watching back the recording, why weren't you here? No, just kidding. I'm glad you're watching back the recording as well. Thank you so much for putting in the time to better yourself, and I really genuinely hope this helps you. But the Digital Solutions Program, if you don't know what it is, I'll just say again, if you're in Queensland, Northern Territory, WA, it's 7 hours of mentorship, and that breaks down into 3 hours one-to-one and 4 hours of webinars and workshops just like this. The difference is, if I'm your advisor, after an hour of talking to me, I will go, you know, Robert, Steph, whatever your name is, like, Peter, these are the 3 or 4 workshops I think you need to do. They're kind of prescribed. So you can absolutely go on and go into any workshop you want. That's not a problem. But this is where someone will professionally sit down and go, I think this is where you need to lay it out and work on based on what you're telling me, the symptoms I'm seeing in your business, okay? So the main categories are social media, digital marketing, online security and data privacy. We probably need a bit more on that, to be honest. Websites and selling online, and business software. We've got heaps of that, and general advisory. So if you just need some general help, you can absolutely come and talk to me about it. I'm a strategist by trade. And again, it's ABNs, it's for profit, fewer than 20 staff, things like that. If you would like me as your first advisor, if you're not already in it, you can go businessstation.link/Rhonwyn, RHONWYN, and just keep in mind Business Station, there's 3 S's in the middle. Even I get caught out with that sometimes, and I'm like, why isn't it working? All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I really am so excited that you could come on board, and I will see you in the near future. If you want to email me, again, it's just ronwyn@businessstation.com.au. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to help. Otherwise, have a great day and have a great week. Bye. You're welcome.